Today I'm going to be taking a look at the worst episodes of SpongeBob. And the thing about SpongeBob is I only really like seasons 1 all the way up to about the movie. That's where I think the sweet spot of pure enjoyment SpongeBob is. That's the best you could possibly get from the series. And then after that, it's kind of a hazy memory for me because I remember some episodes, but not really. And then when it comes to the modern stuff, I have no idea. And I did a poll, and SpongeBob won, so that's why you got this video right here. And I decided to ask everybody what you think the worst episode of SpongeBob is. And I got so many submissions that I just can't do them all in this video, so if this video does well, which it probably won't because all you people want from me is regular show, but then I'll make a part 2, which could be a lot of fun because talking about SpongeBob is fun and I enjoy it. So yeah, if you like videos just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. At 30,000 subscribers, I'm going to be cosplaying as Muscle Man, doing a cover of the song and doing a hot dog eating contest. And if you like a place where you could talk about your favorite cartoons, movies, games, shows, give me video ideas, share art, there's a gaming channel in there, there's a channel to talk about your pets, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's get started with the worst episodes of SpongeBob. Now, as said before, when I was making this video, I had a bunch of people comment what they think the worst episode of SpongeBob is. And one person commented, Ink Lemonade, saying that they could literally not look at the TV screen because it was so appalling. And I was like, oh, that kind of intrigues me. Let me check this episode out. I had never seen it before. And oh my God. I didn't think it was possible for me to actually have my skin crawling because of a SpongeBob episode. This is abysmal. This is where the show just must have went downhill, because if you compare this to any episode from seasons 1 through 3, this genuinely makes no sense how we could have ever gotten here. It's a Squidward torture episode, which I already don't like, but that's the majority of the series because they just love to make Squidward suffer because they apparently think it's the most hilarious thing ever. Instead of focusing on telling actual good jokes, they just love to make this poor little squid suffer, and God, does he suffer in such disgusting ways throughout this entire episode. In this episode, Patrick is selling lemonade, except it's just water. So he tries to find a bunch of different ways to make it better, and I really hate the beginning of this because it's still just very disgusting, where Squidward throws trash at him that has a lemon, and then Patrick just takes a band-aid out from his armpit, slaps it on the lemon, and puts it into the juice, and then this poor little fish guy drinks it, and he's just disgusted, he's appalled because there was a band-aid on his tongue.
Sorry, that's not included.
Tell me what's funny about that. I don't get it, because the thing about SpongeBob is, the reason it's one of the greatest shows of all time is because the first few seasons, I could laugh at every single joke they came up with. And yes, there were certain creators and writers that left, but still, you had all of the basis, all of these great characters to make a hilarious show, and yes, you could do like similar topics, but you have everything you need to still be funny just as long as you keep on telling jokes. But then they just decide to lean into gross out humor, and it's not even like funny gross out humor, it's just genuinely disgusting and makes you just go like the entire time. Like, why would you want to do that? And so as the episode progresses, Patrick learns that Squidward can produce ink, which I'd never seen Squidward do before in any episode of SpongeBob, and he squirts it out because he gets scared, and then there's this black lemonade, and the customers start drinking it, and they just love it so much. So they're just drinking the essence of Squidward, and the shit's gross, man. I don't like it. And then for the half of the episode, now Patrick has to keep up with the demand of black lemonade, so he just keeps trying to scare Squidward over and over and over again, so Squidward just out of his nostrils just goes and just squirts out the ink into all of the jars, and I don't enjoy it.
May I help you, young man?
I don't like watching Squidward suffer, but then you also just compare that with all of this gross out humor and the fact that there's just lines and droves of people lining up just to get a taste of his ink. What is good about that? Nothing is good about that. And then going towards the end of the episode, Squidward, now realizing that everybody's making money off of his ink, he's like,
You guys want it from the source?
and so he makes his own lemonade stand and tries to squirt it out, and then he's like, I don't know if this was a masturbation joke, but he's like trying to crank his hog. He's going like,
I just need to rest a little bit.
and then he gets scared again and starts just inking all over everybody, and then everybody finds it disgusting after they learn that that is the source of it. I am just appalled by how this episode is. Like, don't get me wrong. The other episodes that I'm going to talk about for this video, they're bad, but this is the first time I have ever watched a SpongeBob episode and genuinely felt like I just wanted to crawl inside of my skin and hide. That is what this episode is making me feel like. It gave me shivers down my spine. It was just horrendous. And this, if this is like a sign of what modern SpongeBob is, because I don't watch any of those episodes, then yes, they genuinely have a problem, because this was actually so awful to get through. I cannot believe how horrendous of an episode they can create when all I can think about when it comes to SpongeBob is fondness and good memories from those first few seasons. It's so weird to come back to a series and to see it like this. I hate it so much. Now, one of the next most requested episodes for this list was the episode The Splinter, and I actually do remember this episode from when I was a kid, and I remember disliking it a little bit because I thought it was gross, but I don't remember despising it and thinking it was one of the worst episodes I'd ever seen. Upon rewatch, I could say that it's pretty bad. If anything, it's really boring. I don't think it deserves to be one of the most hated episodes of SpongeBob, and granted, I haven't seen all the episodes, so who am I to say, but it's pretty bad still. The episode follows SpongeBob just going to work, and the opening is actually pretty interesting. I like it. He accidentally throws his spatula up into the ceiling, and he makes all these boxes so he could get up there, and then a bunch of swords spill out, and he almost dies, and he barely manages to survive. Cool intro, and then he falls, and he gets a splinter. And I don't really like it when SpongeBob has to do these close-ups where it actually shows the injury. I always just think about that one scene where Squidward and his toenail, I have no idea what episode that's from. I just, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to show it because it's just that bad, but Squidward in the close-up of his toenail just scraping. Oh my god, I can feel it in my toes. But either way, I don't like it when they do like close-up injuries. It's just not very enjoyable. So SpongeBob has a little splinter, and he's trying to do his fry cook thing with his spatula on his nose. He's doing that, and one of the only times that I actually like gave a little chuckle in this episode is when Squidward comes back there to confront him, and he's like, "SpongeBob, what are you doing?" And just in a very nice voice. It kind of reminds me of that one episode where it's like, "What's busy?
Yes?
Can I ask you something?
Yes?
What's that?
What's what?
You know.
I like that. I thought that interaction was a lot of fun, but then Squidward starts tormenting him and making SpongeBob think that he's going to tell Mr. Krabs, and then Mr. Krabs is going to send him home. And so SpongeBob calls Patrick for some help because he needs help with this injury. And I actually like that Patrick just is sitting on the phone, not saying anything, and SpongeBob's just waiting for it to pick up. And then SpongeBob realizes that he's just sitting there with the phone already on. It was really funny.
Patrick?
Yeah?
And then Patrick is in the dumpster outside, and then it just gets really gross for me after that, because, I mean, it was already kind of gross, but then Patrick decides that he's going to hammer the splinter even further in, while also dumping garbage on it, and then it looks really gross, really putrid. I'm not a fan of that.
Go down.
And then SpongeBob goes inside, Mr. Krabs finds out, pulls out the splinter, and then it just splinters all over him.
Problems happen.
Just, yeah, not very good. I don't know, this episode is bad, that's for sure. There's a couple of moments that gross me out a lot. There's only really 2 moments in the entire episode that I like. I think it suffers more from just being boring, because you have the initial start of the episode, which is really decent when he actually gets the splinter, and then it's just 6 minutes of Squidward just tormenting him, saying that he's going to tell Mr. Krabs in a not so funny way, like I do not care even remotely. And then once it goes out with Patrick, you think it's going to start getting better again, but then it's just really disgusting. So yeah, it's definitely one of SpongeBob's worst episodes. Like, that's just undoubtedly true. I don't know if it deserves to be called the worst episode though, because I just talked about Black Lemonade, and this episode nowhere near made me want to crawl into my skin and hide for the rest of my life. But Black Lemonade, that was actually horrendous. That was abysmal. This is still bad, but I could at least get through this without wanting to end my own life. Now, the next episode that was requested a decent amount is Gone, and I actually do remember this episode a little bit, and upon rewatch, I could see why people wouldn't like it. I don't think it's like that bad story-wise. It's just the meaning and the implications of everything that's going on in the episode that's just kind of so hateful. And I'm not one to be all like, oh, this is really hateful and mean-spirited. That makes it a bad episode. Duh! No, I'm not really like that. I don't care if you're having like a bully episode or an episode where somebody is mean to another person. If it's in good taste and it's really funny, I'm all for it. I don't care. Be as mean as you want as long as it's funny. But this isn't really funny, what everybody does to SpongeBob. The episode opens with SpongeBob just trying to feed Gary, and Gary is gone. He can't find him anywhere. He doesn't know what to do, so he just continues on with his day. He goes to the Krusty Krab. He looks for Patrick. He looks for Squidward, and nobody is in town. Nobody is anywhere. He goes home, and still, nobody's there. Gary doesn't show up. Nobody's around. He doesn't know what to do. And yes, SpongeBob's just the only person in Bikini Bottom, which is a good setup for the plot. I enjoy it, and I actually think SpongeBob just going around pretending to be everybody else is really funny. When he's trying to be Mr. Krabs, when he's trying to be Squidward.
SpongeBob, would you be quiet? You're disrupting my genius.
I enjoy that stuff when he's Mrs. Puff. There's some good scenes in there where SpongeBob is just pretending, albeit it's a little bit sad that he has to go around and do all this, but still, I understand it. I think it's a decent plot so far, and then I think the episode actually does get a lot better once he gives himself the driver's license and starts boating around and actually becomes friends with this boat. And then one scene that caught me genuinely off guard was where he's talking to the boat, and he's like, what? A statue of Patrick made out of meat in the closet? What are you talking about? Then he goes to the closet and it's actually there, and he starts forcing it to talk.
Sorry I'm late, Patrick. Nah, Bodie was telling me a joke.
You're awfully chummy with that guy for someone who has it out for ya.
It's really weird. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really weird. And then the boat starts chasing him around Bikini Bottom, and SpongeBob keeps thinking it's going to try and kill him, and he's freaking out. And then a bus like drives over to try to get to SpongeBob, and SpongeBob hits it with an axe. And that is when everybody from Bikini Bottom comes out of this bus at the same exact time. And apparently, it's no SpongeBob day, and they all traveled miles and miles away just to avoid SpongeBob. What? Really? I mean, I guess I get the joke, like SpongeBob's a lot, but you have to have a whole day where you all have to be apart from him, even his own pet, who he just cherishes, like the majority of the time, I should say. But like, come on, that's just so sad. That's really sad. And then they just try to play it off by saying it's a whole day where we celebrate you because we build a statue of you and then set it on fire because we honestly hate you so much. It doesn't really feel like a happy ending. And I know SpongeBob is too stupid to understand that, you know, it's actually not a very good thing, and they play it for jokes when Patrick also gets left behind and they do No Patrick Day. I don't like it, man. I don't know, something about that ending just kind of spoils this entire episode and makes it one of SpongeBob's worst. I don't like thinking that they need an entire day just to get away from one person who is usually just a ray of positivity the majority of the time. Yeah, he's annoying. The only person I could say genuinely deserves to go on this is Squidward, because everybody else, they seem to be his friend the majority of the time. Somebody may find him annoying, but everybody else just seems to be his friend, and they all need to get away from him. Everybody else seems to enjoy him. Like, why do you all need to get away from him? I don't know why they decided to make an episode like this. It was just weird. Very weird to me. Another episode that was one of the most requested was the episode Stuck in the Ringer, and I can completely see why. You have a SpongeBob torture episode. Let's just enjoy SpongeBob being tortured. And when it's Squidward, you know, it's usually very mean-spirited, but they're trying to do a positive thing for him, like they're trying to get him to go out of the house. Here, SpongeBob is just very against his will, just suffering the entire episode. I really like the beginning where he's just having a bath, he's enjoying himself, washing his brain, the soap gets dropped out of the tub, he slips and he gets stuck in the ringer. Just a little like clothes drying thing, and he calls over Patrick. Patrick shows up and decides to put glue all over it, actually making him stuck.
There you go, buddy. Now you're stuck forever.
Gee, thanks.
So SpongeBob is now completely stuck in this ringer and he just can't get out. He tries to go to work and he just makes a bunch of people suffer, like he attacks Squidward, he attacks this one poor guy.
Refill on my soda.
Ow, a refill.
Oh, my foot. Oh, my foot. Oh, my back. Oh, my feet.
None of it's on purpose, but eventually he gets thrown out of the restaurant because nobody just wants him there. So it's already him suffering a little bit, but it's not to a horrible extent yet, even though he's very sad. And Patrick, you know, being just a stand-up friend, he's all like, let's go to the amusement park! And so they go to the amusement park, and just the entire time, SpongeBob is just suffering more and more and more, where he gets a ball thrown into his eye. He gets launched out of the teacups, and he eventually snaps and starts getting angry at Patrick because truly, if Patrick didn't decide to use glue, SpongeBob probably would have already been out of this. And then what I hate the most is SpongeBob having one of the most reasonable crash outs in the series. The entire community at the amusement park just looks at SpongeBob, who is stuck in a ringer, who has a black eye, who is just so sad, and they just go, kid, maybe it's not wrong, it's not something wrong with your body, it's your heart.
You know, kid, your body isn't the problem. It's your heart.
Great, dude. Make SpongeBob one of the most wholesome characters ever just feel so unbelievably bad for himself for a situation that isn't even his fault. Of course, he's going to get mad at Patrick for using goddamn glue. But either way, the episode goes on. SpongeBob's just at home. He's just sitting in his couch. He doesn't want to do anything anymore. He's done with life. And then Patrick is sad and he starts crying and SpongeBob is free. Yeah. This episode is pretty bad. There's not really a redeeming quality about it. Nothing is really too funny. It's just SpongeBob being tortured the entire time, and none of it's really funny. You know, if it's funny, torture, like there's some episodes that I think are funny. The one episode where Squidward, he gets zapped by the giant jellyfish, I think it's okay, where he's like bandaged up. I think that episode is okay. It's a Squidward torture episode, but I think some of it is really funny. This year, it's a SpongeBob torture episode, and just nothing is funny. You're just watching this character suffer for no apparent reason, with no jokes, no payoff, just nothing. It's nothing good about it. Definitely one of SpongeBob's worst episodes. Now, this next episode feels like a weird fetish come to life. I don't know, something about it I just really don't enjoy. It is the episode Squid Baby. This episode follows SpongeBob and Patrick literally just playing with baby toys. Yep, that's the entire intro, that's the entire beginning. Squidward is trying to relax, and SpongeBob and Patrick are actually just acting like toddlers. I don't know, something about people in their 20s acting like little babies just isn't really good comedy to me. I understand that SpongeBob and Patrick are naive, but come on, man. This is the only thing you could think of? Probably 20 writers sitting around a desk, and this was the landing mark. What if SpongeBob and Patrick Sanderez just sat on the ground and played with toddler toys, and that's the entire comedy of the beginning of the episode? Squidward walks out there and starts telling them to act their own age, and he accidentally slips and hits a mailbox, which causes his entire head to grow at a rapid rate, turning him into a literal baby. So we have to watch one of the most grown-up people in the entire show, the character who acts very mature compared to SpongeBob and Patrick, now act like a baby. They go to the hospital, And the doctor's all like, make sure that he does it in his head or he could end up like this permanently. So SpongeBob and Patrick now have to raise Squidward. And it could have been something like that one episode where SpongeBob and Patrick have to raise like a baby clam, I think it was. And it actually feels realistic. They actually know what they're doing. And Patrick like goes to work and he's actually just watching TV. And SpongeBob is just caring for the baby. And there's just hundreds upon hundreds of diapers. That is a great episode about babies. It's just great. It feels realistic. It teaches kids about children, I guess. I don't know. I thought that episode was hilarious, but they just decided to make it a Squidward torture episode where this poor baby Squidward is getting thrown into the ceiling. His head is getting hit. They're trying to feed him. It just feels very weird. I just don't like the fact that I'm watching this episode and I just have the constant thing running in my head like, that is a adult man. That is a adult man right there who doesn't have the mental capacity to stop this. I can't get behind it, and there's just so many different scenes where they're trying to do stuff for Squidward and they end up just hitting his head, and they eventually take him to work, and again, I just don't enjoy this. Squidward is placed at the cash register because they're like, why can't he work? And then he just starts doing baby stuff because he has the mind of a toddler. Oh boy. And then SpongeBob tries to take him to the back because Squidward literally shits his pants. And there's this entire scene where he's just going around trying to find a place to change Squidward.
Sorry.
Hey, I was gonna get ketchup there!
Sorry.
I don't want to think about the fact that SpongeBob has to change Squidward's diaper. What the God, how did we get here? How did we get here from naughty nautical neighbors? How did we get here, man? This is just not good. Not good. It's not good stuff. He goes back there, he slips or something. I don't know. The episode's already a fog in my brain and I literally just watched it. It's just that awful. He slips and Squidward like hits his head again and falls into some ice, and then his head shrinks back down and he's normal Squidward and he's like, did I just tip myself? Yeah, you did, pal. That's such great writing. Wow. Who would think that you could come up with something this hilarious in the modern day? Man, I don't even know if this episode is like that new. I think it's honestly pretty old. This is probably like 2010. To be honest, and it's just actually so bad. It's not as bad as Ink Lemonade, but dude, wow, let's make Squidward into a toddler and just have SpongeBob and Patrick basically just bully this toddler for 11 minutes. Yay! No, it's garbage. I hate it, and I'd never watch it again. So one of the key themes about the majority of these episodes that I talked about is torture, you know? I don't enjoy when a character is tortured. It's just not that funny to me unless it's in a good way, a deserved way, like the character did something poorly and so it's karma for that. Then I can enjoy it. When there's actual reason behind it, when it's to progress an episode in a meaningful way, then I think it's good. But the majority of these episodes, it's just torture for the sake of torture. And that brings me to the final episode I'm going to be discussing here, which might, I don't know, Ink Lemonade is just so tough to beat in an episode that genuinely made my skin crawl, but A Pal for Gary is an episode that I personally have always hated. I never thought this episode was interesting, even when I was little, just because it's a Gary torture episode. Why would you want to torture Gary the snail? Who pitched this? And it's not even funny! The episode follows SpongeBob thinking that Gary is really lonely because he's always at work and he doesn't have enough time to spend time with Gary, and so he wants to get Gary a brand new pet, and he finds this weird little flounder fish and takes it home, and this flounder fish just starts torturing Gary for the entire episode, almost eating him, chasing him, and Gary is just scared for so long in this episode. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And every time Gary is acting scared, is acting afraid, SpongeBob yells at him for not enjoying the new friend, not cherishing the new friend, and not being respectful. Great.
Oh, these enchiladas are hot, hot, hot. Gerald, it is not nice to ignore new friends.
So not only do I have to watch Gary the Snail, a character who is just literally basically a cat, except a really cool cat, just run away, scream, and cry for the entire episode. And then SpongeBob goes to bed, even though this thing has eaten Gary's food, is not letting Gary get anything in life, goes to bed, and this thing turns into like a colossal fish and just starts chasing Gary around the house, trying to eat him and destroying everything in its path. And SpongeBob wakes up and he sees Gary inside of this thing's mouth, and he still yells at Gary. No! No! Why? And then SpongeBob starts getting eaten, and then Gary saves him by using his good old, like, leash lasso, saves him, and then SpongeBob still has the audacity to basically yell at him and say, why, Gary, why? Why would you make him leave? And, yeah, there's just nothing really redeemable about this entire episode. It's just Gary suffering the entire time, and Gary is a character that I would not want to watch suffer on any occasion. You could literally make it about any other character, and I would probably like it a little bit more because it's not Gary the goddamn snail. He is just a character you do not touch with this rubbish of torture. I do not enjoy it, and I think it is an awful episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I know this video won the vote. It got the popular vote. 45% of people wanted to see it, and I guarantee you this video is not even going to cross 3,000 views. That is the struggle of being niche locked, but hey, we got to keep up the grind. We got to keep trying stuff that is different from regular show in order to break out so that my channel doesn't die when that regular show well dries all the way up. But still, I will have other regular show content coming. I'll probably have a regular show video tomorrow, so that's very exciting, and then followed up by ranking every Adventure Time fight, and then followed up by a video where I finally watch Clarence for the very first time. So lots of stuff to look forward to. I appreciate you all. Make sure to drink some water, eat some food, and enjoy yourself. Bye.